Welcome back.
Again? I called a completely different service tonight.
For 2 years, Hiroshi had called cabs constantly for work. Airports, business districts, late-night bars, even holidays in distant prefectures, the same blonde driver always pulled up. Tonight was no different. The meter clicked on, the city lights bled past the windows, and that familiar blonde bob never flinched.
She looks right through me, as if she's been waiting for this call.
147 rides, all dispatched to the same name, Yuna T. The odds of that happening randomly were so close to zero it could only be called impossible. He had laughed it off as coincidence for months. Now the pattern tightened around his chest like a seatbelt he couldn't unbuckle.
Who are you? Tomorrow, I'm telling someone. This has to stop.
The next morning, Hiroshi stared at the ride history on his desk, the dread still sitting in his chest.
You look like you saw a ghost? What's going on?
It's nothing. Just... You remember that taxi driver I told you about? The blonde.
Oh, the one who's always there? Come on, that's still happening? I thought you were exaggerating.
I'm not. I called a different service last night. She still arrived. 2 years, Kenji. Every single time.
Wait, different companies? That's not a glitch. That's deliberate. The odds of that randomly are practically zero. You could play the lottery daily and have better chances.
I know. So what do I do?
Test it. Call companies you've never used from weird places. If she still shows, you've got proof something's wrong.
That afternoon, Hiroshi's search history filled with names of taxi companies he'd never called. That night, Hiroshi stood in a bar district thick with neon and drunken crowds, then called a random taxi number from his phone.
No way she finds me here. Not this time. I called a company I didn't even know existed.
The black taxi slid in. Through the window. Golden blonde hair, a closed mouth smirk, as if she'd been waiting.
This is impossible. She's intercepting me. How?
A week later, jet-lagged at the airport arrival curb, he dialed another service he'd never used. The familiar cab appeared. Her amber eyes met his in the rearview mirror without surprise. He tried a train station in a completely different ward, using a newly installed app.
Got you. He lifted his phone and snapped a photo of the blonde driver pulling in. Proof.
Smirk after smirk, the folder on his phone thickened. He no longer needed tests. The pattern was documented beyond denial.
Tomorrow, I'm going straight to the taxi company office. They'll explain how this is possible.
The glass doors of the taxi dispatch center swung open. Hiroshi stepped inside, clutching a manila folder packed with photographic evidence.
Your company keeps sending the same blonde driver to me. For 2 years, every single pickup. Here's the proof.
2 years? That can't be right. The dispatch system rotates automatically. Which driver are you claiming keeps showing up?
Tanaka's skepticism evaporated as the keyboard clattered. The GPS playback lit up with red lines that traced Hiroshi's every pickup point.
This driver, Unitur, her route history is mirroring your requests perfectly, for 24 consecutive months.
He clicked into the access logs. An old administrator password, still active, issued to the founder's daughter years ago.
If this goes to a formal complaint, she'll be fired on the spot. No hearing. The founder's daughter or not.
Fired? I didn't come here to ruin someone's life. I just wanted to understand why it kept happening.
The dispatcher printed the report, his fingers unsteady. He slid it over, and Hiroshi felt the decision burn into his hands.
I could destroy her with one call. So why do I feel like I'm the one being cornered?
That evening, Hiroshi knelt on his apartment floor and spread the GPS logs, photographs, and red-inked maps across the tatami.
She adjusted the climate control to my preferred temperature before I'd even unbuckled.
A memory surfaced. Her white-gloved hand passing back a hot coffee, black with no sugar, exactly how he took it on the worst mornings.
2 years of silent attention. And 2 years of deliberate lies.
He pressed his palms into his eyes until sparks danced. The same woman who made him feel stalked also made him feel known.
I can't decide her fate without hearing her voice first.
His phone lit up. He typed a pickup request to Yuna's direct number, not the dispatch.
She'll accept. She's never missed a single call.
When the confirmation tone chimed, he chose a park bench as the destination, neutral ground, no rear-view mirrors.
I'll make her tell me why. No report, no evidence, just the truth.
The taxi pulled up to the curb, and Hiroshi slid into the back seat without a word. Yuna's eyes met his in the mirror, but she said nothing. The first minutes passed without a word. The taxi hummed through neon-lit streets. The only sound was the meter clicking.
I know about the password, Yuna. I know you've been intercepting every single ride I've called.
Yes, I never denied it.
Then tell me why. 2 years of my rides. Why would you do that?
I had to.
That's not an answer. I could have you fired right now. I have the GPS records.
I know. Do what you need to, but I won't tell you.
The silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. Hiroshi's knuckles whitened on the seat, but he forced his voice steady.
I'm not dropping this. I will make you talk. Is that it? Are you some creep who gets a thrill from following me? Or do you just want money?
I'm neither, you know that.
Then give me a reason. I'll call Tanaka right now. 1 word, and you're fired.
Do what you must, but I won't tell you.
The taxi door slammed louder than his threat. Hiroshi stepped out into the downpour, rain needling his suit. The taxi sat idle, exhaust curling in the wet air, then pulled away, leaving him on the slick curb.
She'd rather lose her job than give me a reason. What is she protecting?
He yanked out his phone. Tanaka's contact number was already on screen, his thumb hovering over the call button.
I just threatened her, and she didn't even flinch, like she's faced worse.
The rain plastered his hair to his forehead, but he couldn't press the button. Not yet. Back in his apartment, Hiroshi sat in front of his laptop, the damp of the rain still clinging to his shirt. On the screen, the formal complaint form, every field filled. His finger hovered over the send button. 1 click would end this.
Why can't I press it?
A jolt. A flash of memory, a pitch-black taxi interior, rain hammering the roof, his own voice thick and slurred. I'll show him. I'll crash it.
What was that? I was in a taxi years ago, but I can't remember.
The image shattered before he could hold it. Only the wet shine of a blonde bob through rain-streaked glass remained.
That was her. Yuna. From before the stalking started. Why was I sobbing?
He shut the laptop with a click that felt like a door locking. He couldn't send the report. Not yet. He pulled up her contact, not from the dispatch, but the number from the company records. This time he would ask, not demand.
I need to see her face off the clock. No meter running. Yuna. It's Hiroshi. I'm not asking for a ride. Meet me at the park tomorrow morning. No cars.
I'll be there. The usual bench.
The next morning, bare cherry branches cast ghostly shadows. She sat rigid on the bench, the cold not seeming to reach her.
I remembered something. 3 years back, a taxi in the rain. I heard my own voice sobbing, saying I'd crash a car.
You remembered that night.
I need the truth. Last chance. If you don't explain, I send the complaint right now.
Her gloved hands stilled. She looked up, and the smirk was gone, replaced by something vulnerable.
You're right. You deserve the truth. I'll say it.
She took a breath that seemed to pull from the earth, then fixed her eyes ahead. And when she spoke, the words landed like stones dropped into still water.
3 years ago, a Saturday night. You were drunker than anyone I'd ever picked up. You didn't call a cab. You were trying to drive yourself home. You told me your father was waiting at home. You were going to confront him, and you were sobbing so hard you could barely breathe.
She described the rain hammering the taxi roof, a bottle in the passenger seat. His hands shaking on the wheel, she refused to let him touch.
I parked on a side street. For an hour, I didn't move. I asked about your life, your job, anything to keep you in that seat. You said if you crashed the car into a wall, he'd finally see what he did to you. I knew you meant every word.
Her white-gloved hand had gently pushed the bottle away. She'd watched him sober up, tears drying on his collar, until rage dulled to exhaustion.
By morning, you didn't remember any of it. You thanked me politely and walked into your office like it was just another day. But I couldn't forget. I couldn't let you be alone in another car after that. What if the next driver didn't stop? What if you tried again?
Her voice didn't crack, but the grief in it was old and immovable, a promise cast in steel.
I made a vow that night. As long as you called for a ride, I would be the one behind the wheel. Protect you from yourself?
Hiroshi's mind wrenched open. The fragments from the flashback knitted together, the rain, the bottle, his own broken voice promising to crash.
I said those words. I was ready to die that night. And I forgot. Why? Why would you do this? For a stranger you picked up once?
Because you deserve someone to stop you.
The answer split him open. A sob wrenched from his chest before he could stop it.
I was going to destroy her career. She saved my life, and I threatened to ruin hers.
A single tear slid down Yuna's tanned cheek, but she didn't move to brush it away. She slipped off her white glove and held out a folded handkerchief.
I can't report her. I can't. But what do I do?
He wept into the cotton until he had nothing left. The park held them in a quiet that didn't need filling. Hiroshi walked the length of a concrete bridge alone, the city lights trembling on the water below.
If I report her, I destroy the person who saved my life. What kind of monster does that make me?
He stopped at the railing, the dark current below mirroring the pull in his chest.
But she intercepted every ride. She broke into the system. My privacy meant nothing to her.
Then, a cold echo surfaced, his father's voice, sharp as a lash. Worthless. You can't even die right.
I've been carrying that voice since I was 10. She stopped me from giving it the last word.
He pulled out his phone and stared at Tanaka's contact. His thumb hovered. Then he lowered the screen.
I can't decide this tonight. I need to hear the rest. Every reason she had.
He scrolled to Yuna's name and pressed call. Not a demand, a request to finish what she'd started.
She owes me nothing more, but I owe her the chance to explain fully. Then I'll decide.
Yuna answered on the second ring, her tone low but steadier than he expected.
Tell me the exact words I said that night. Every word. Don't leave anything out.
You said maybe if I just crash the car into a wall, I'll show him. Your knuckles were white on the seat. Then you laughed, and it broke halfway. At least then he'd have to look at me. You meant it.
The words struck like stones dropped into still water, every ripple a forgotten memory he couldn't escape now.
That was me. I really meant it. I was ready to die that night.
The sobs came before he could stop them, loud and raw into the receiver.
You saved my life, you. You stopped me. How can I ever repay you for that?
You don't owe me anything. Just stay alive. That's the only thing I ever wanted.
Whatever I decide about the report, nothing changes this. I owe her my life.
The next morning, Hiroshi sat at his desk with the complaint file still open, then dialed the dispatch center before he could second-guess himself.
Tanaka? It's Hiroshi, about the complaint. I've looked into it further. It was a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding? The GPS data was clear, Hiroshi. You can't just explain that away.
I signed up for a personal driver subscription years ago and completely forgot. The system was routing her automatically, my mistake.
A subscription? I've never heard of that service, but if you're sure, it's a relief, honestly. I didn't want to fire the founder's daughter.
The dispatcher set the phone back in its cradle, exhaling a long breath that fogged his glasses. The file could finally be closed. Hiroshi hung up, and the phone slipped from his trembling fingers onto the desk. The lie burned in his throat like cheap whiskey.
It's done. I buried the evidence. I chose her over the rules.
Somewhere in the dispatch office, routines resumed. Monitors showed ordinary rotes, and the ghost of an abandoned complaint faded.
She'll never have to know what I did. Maybe that's for the best.
That evening, Hiroshi climbed into the back seat of Yuna's taxi. The same as always, but something in the air was weightless now.
I didn't file the report, Yuna. I told Tanaka it was a mistake. I buried it.
Her gloved hands on the wheel curled an inch, then relaxed.
I'd do it again. Every ride. I don't regret it.
If that night happened again, if I were in that back seat right now, suicidal, would you still save me?
Yes. Every time.
I'm starting therapy next week. I want to fix what's been broken inside me. I'm done running.
Her reflection in the mirror flickered, then the smirk dissolved into something real, a curve of the lips she hadn't worn in years. She pulled the cab over at a quiet riverbank. They sat without words as the city lights blinked awake. There was no welcome back this time, only the quiet of two people who had finally arrived at the same place. Weeks passed. Twice a week, Hiroshi sat in a sunlit therapy room, learning to name the shadows his father had cast. In one session, he spoke of Yuna. She saved my life, and I almost destroyed her. The therapist listened, then replied, "It's okay to need people, Hiroshi." The words settled into his chest like a key turning in a lock he'd kept rusted shut for decades.
The therapist was right. I don't have to carry everything alone.
After the session, Hiroshi stood on the curb and called for a cab. When the familiar black taxi appeared, he didn't open the back door.
Yuna, can I sit up front today?
Get in.
She reached across and popped the passenger door lock. He settled into the passenger seat, and the city opened before them like a map of second chances. They drove toward the sunset in a silence that held more than words ever could. There was no rearview mirror between them now. Riding shotgun became their ritual. Hiroshi no longer looked for the back door. He slid into the passenger seat as naturally as closing his briefcase.
Saw a new coffee shop near the office. Thought you might like it, black, no sugar.
You remembered how I take it.
Another morning, she had a convenience store onigiri waiting on his seat. Tuna mayo, his favorite. She'd never asked.
She's been watching over me in 100 quiet ways. I just never let myself see.
On the dashboard, tucked beside the meter, a tiny keychain steering wheel glittered, a charm she'd had forever, now catching the afternoon sun.
You've always had that little wheel. I just noticed it a few weeks ago.
From my father. He gave it to me when I got my license. Said it would remind me that I'm steering my own life.
And she used that wheel to steer me away from a wall I never saw.
The taxi rolled on through ordinary days, carrying two people who had stopped needing to be saved and started simply being. At 3 a.m., a nightmare ripped Hiroshi from sleep, his father's silhouette filling a hallway, and no door to escape through.
I can't breathe. My heart won't stop racing. I need to hear her voice. Yuna, I'm sorry it's so late. I just needed to hear you.
The call ended. 15 minutes later, her cab's headlights cut through the heavy rain outside his apartment. He climbed into the back seat without a word, soaked and trembling. The door clicked shut. She drove through the empty streets, the wipers slicing a rhythm, rain hammering the roof like a memory. For a heartbeat, he saw himself 3 years ago, drunk and broken in this same back seat, but this time, someone was watching over him.
And I'm not alone now.
It's okay. I'm here.
The taxi rolled on through the storm, carrying them both into the dark without fear. As the rain lightened, they pulled to the river's edge. The sky was turning, bruise purple to pale peach.
Stop here. I want to watch the sun with you.
They stepped out into the cool air, side mirrors still beaded with raindrops. The city hadn't stirred yet.
I'm glad you're alive. After everything, I'm grateful for you. I want to be worth what you gave me.
You already are. You always were.
The sun broke low across the water, and the river caught fire with it. Neither of them spoke. The light was enough. When they climbed back in, the rear-view mirror showed two faces that had stopped hiding. The taxi curved back into the city's pulse. Just one more car, but inside, a promise had been renewed. Hiroshi closed his eyes for a moment, and when he opened them, the world looked like it belonged to him again. Some dates stayed in his mind without trying. The file he'd once nearly used to destroy her had whispered a birthday. He bought a tiny cake.
Happy birthday! I didn't want it to pass like any other day.
You remembered? I didn't think anyone else would.
She laughed, a real laugh, unshielded by her usual smirk, and the sound filled the taxi's small cabin. They lit one thin candle on the dashboard, its flame wobbling as the city passed.
I don't normally make a wish, but this year, I think I will.
She blew it out in one slow breath, smoke curling toward the rearview mirror. They ate the cake with plastic forks right there on the dashboard, frosting catching the corner of her lip.
Next year, I'll bring a bigger one, maybe 2 candles.
That sounds like a reason to keep driving.
An ordinary evening after work. Hiroshi slid into the passenger seat, briefcase at his feet. The city's lights just beginning to glow.
Do you ever regret it? 2 years of following my calls, breaking every rule.
I don't regret a single ride. Every time I saw your name, I knew you'd be safe that night.
Do you think you'll do this forever? Intercepting my calls like some guardian angel?
She glanced at him, her amber eyes catching the passing headlights.
As long as you need me to. I made a promise.
What if I never need you again? What if I get so stable that I don't even think about that night?
She paused. The silence between them wasn't heavy, just present.
Then I'll drive other people. That was always the point.
He smiled. Good, he said, and she let out a quiet breath that was almost a laugh. The taxi rolled on. One peaceful morning, cherry blossoms swept the street. Hiroshi stood at the curb and lifted his phone to call a cab.
I'm glad it was you.
She nodded once, the ghost of her old smirk somewhere in it, and they pulled into the blossom-lined avenue. The city was waking, skyscrapers catching the sun. Petals skittered over the windshield like promises. For a long stretch, neither spoke. The radio murmured a morning talk show, and it was enough. She dropped him at his office. He raised a hand in thanks, and the cab pulled away into the tide of traffic. The cab rounded a corner. The last petal of the season floated down onto the empty curb. Inside the taxi, Yuna adjusted the rearview mirror. Her reflection looked back at her calm, quiet, unguarded. She didn't need to say the words. The same promise still hummed beneath every meter click, every turn. Some bonds are made of broken roads and driven by those who never gave up.